expect anything different?
How about a 4? How about a 4? Can you tell
me? Today is May 29th, 2017. I'm Officer Fandry of the Jupiter Police Department.
Tiger Woods is considered one of the best golfers of all time and is undoubtedly the most dominant of the last 40 years. A child prodigy who appeared on national TV at the age of 2, dominated college golf at Stanford, and turned pro in 1996 at the age of 20 years old. The first 13 years of his career were marked by an unparalleled streak of success. Woods had won an insane 70 PGA tournaments, including 14 major championships, and spent a record amount of time ranked as the world's #1 golfer. Tiger Woods was so good at the game that they literally had to change the venues because of how dominant he was. Tiger had signed endorsement deals with some of the world's biggest brands, including one with Nike that was the largest in pro sports history at the time. Woods' personal life just seemed as enviable, with his loving wife Elin Nordegren, a former model in Sweden, with their 2 small children living in their massive Florida mansion. This wholesome family image made him the Our story starts out Thanksgiving weekend. It's 2009. Tiger and Elin were hosting his mother at their $2.4 million home in Florida. And just the day before, Elin was at the supermarket, and in the corner of her eye, the latest edition of the National Enquirer was freshly slotted amongst the checkout racks. And it was headlined, Tiger Woods Cheating Scandal. And inside was a detailed report about Tiger's months-long affair with the New York City nightclub hostess Rachael Uchitel. She had been photographed checking into the same hotel as Tiger during the Australian Masters and was quoted in the magazine as telling a friend, "It's Tiger Woods, I don't care, we're in love." And when Elin arrived home, she said nothing for the next 2 days. But she did read that National Enquirer story and was stunned by the amount of detail. Her husband had met Rachael in June, just 4 months after the birth of their first son. And reading it further, it also had intimate details that the pet name Rachael used for Tiger was Bear. Another day goes by, and Tiger leaves his phone at home. And Elin, under suspicion of a cheating spouse, did what anyone would do. Look through their phone. And Elin found a recent text from a woman named Jamie Grubbs and called her. But the call went straight to voicemail, so Elin left a very friendly message. "You know who the this is because you're f***ing my husband." Elin hung up the call and never told Tiger. But when Tiger came home and looked at his phone, he too called Jamie. But his call also went to voicemail.
"Hey, it's Tiger. I need you to do me a huge favor. Can you please take your name off your phone? My wife went through my phone and maybe calling you. If you can, please take your name off that and what do you call it? Just have it as a number on the voicemail. Just have it as your telephone number. Okay, you gotta do this for me. Hey, it's Tiger. I need you to do me a huge favor. Please, you gotta do this for me. Can you take your name off your phone? My wife went through my phone and maybe calling you. Take your name off your phone."
So it was Thanksgiving night. They had a huge feast. Everyone's going to bed. But Tiger Woods is an insomniac, so he took an Ambien and fell asleep. And while knocked out, Elin grabbed his phone and searched for Rachael's number. She clicked on it and found a text from her husband to Rachael. "You are the only one I have ever loved." It's now 1 a.m. on a Friday, and Elin, described by friends as a very emotionally controlled person, took a deep breath. How could she be positive to catch her husband in this lie? She needed to see it to believe it. So she began texting Rachael on Tiger's phone. "I miss you. When are we seeing each other again?" Elin wrote. And Rachael replied immediately, expressing so much surprise that Tiger was even up at this hour. But Elin called Rachael immediately and scathingly said, "I knew it was you. I know everything. You." Rachael just said, "Oh, and hung up. Elin started screaming and woke up a sleeping Tiger. He was woozy, he's knocked out on Ambien, but Tiger gets up and grabs his cell phone, runs off to the bathroom and locks the door, and he starts texting Rachael. She knows. I'm gonna be packing. He told her it looked like a divorce. And Elin is pounding her fist on the bathroom door, yelling at him, demanding he come out. And when he emerged just minutes later, Elin grabbed his cell phone, took a look at the last message, divorce, and exploded in anger. She threw it at Tiger, chipping his tooth, punching him in the chest, scratching his face, and when Tiger barely wrestled himself away, and Elin reached for the nearest object to hit Tiger with, a driver, and chased Tiger out of the house. And Tiger tore off on barefoot with Elin right behind him in hot pursuit, screaming, hollering, waking the neighbors. "You've ruined our Thanksgiving," Tiger yelled, still screaming. "Are you happy now?" Tiger took off in his Escalade while Elin chased in a golf cart. It's now 2 a.m, and Tiger's pulling out of the driveway at 30 miles an hour, crushing some hedges, hitting the curb, running into a fire hydrant before smashing into a tree. He exited the car, walks up the street, and falls flat on his face. Unconscious, bloody, and snoring. The neighbors ran over to see what the commotion was, and there was Elin standing next to the wreck, with a golf club in her hand and the Escalade's window smashed out, with Tiger face down, blood pooling on his face. "Help us," Elin said. Tiger was knocked out for 6 minutes, and a neighbor called 911. And according to the police, when officers arrived on scene, they found Elin frantic and upset, while Tiger still on the ground. But now Tiger had a pillow and a blanket, and he was sliding in and out of consciousness with cuts to his lips, blood pooling in his mouth. He tried to talk, but nothing could be said. Tiger was done. And while waiting for the ambulance, Elin told the police that Tiger had been in a car accident, and she heard the crash when she was at home. And when she realized it was her husband, oh my gosh, she got in her golf cart and in a heroic effort, smashed the windows in the Escalade out to save her husband. But the cops seemed a little bit skeptical. I mean, we're talking about Tiger Woods, who was 6'1", is 185 pounds, and Elin, who's 5'10" and 130 pounds. When the ambulance arrived, Elin ran back inside to get socks and shoes for her husband, and when she tried to ride in the ambulance, the paramedics blocked her. And inside the police report, it was reported that it did look like a domestic disturbance, and Tiger's condition was listed as serious. Tiger was then taken to the Health Central Hospital where he was treated and released, and when investigators returned home that Friday evening just a little before 6, Elin invited them inside and said she'd go get her husband. But just a few minutes later, she said that her husband was sleeping and suggested, "Come by the next day at 3 p.m. But before that meeting, investigators got a call from Tiger's attorney who said the couple would be not cooperating with the investigation. Frustrated as hell, the investigators then petitioned for a subpoena. They wanted the access to Woods' blood toxicology test and medical reports from that night to build a case and uncover what really went down. But a judge denied that request, and the most the police could do for crashing into a fire hydrant, running into a tree, on Ambien at 2 a.m. with your wife beating out the windows in your Escalade was get a ticket for $164 for reckless driving.
Golf sensation Tiger Woods says his car crash outside his Florida mansion is a private matter, and he intends to keep it that way. Meanwhile, rumors involving his wife and possibly an affair with a New York woman continue to swirl at this hour.
The press immediately locked onto the story. Rachael, one of the mistresses, hired the feared attorney Gloria Allred as the scandal of Tiger's affair blew up in the media and scheduled a press conference to tell her side of the story. But then it was immediately canceled, and then reports started circulating that Tiger had allegedly paid Rachael $10 million to keep quiet and cancel this press conference. If Tiger had only been just a little more generous, he could have perhaps avoided what came next. The onslaught of stars, strippers, escort, party girls who said they too had been f***ing the Tiger. Not only did the public learn how depraved Tiger Woods was, but they also learned that he was a cheap ass, only ever buying one mistress a sandwich at Subway at 2 a.m. And that mistress was Mindy Lawton, a dinner waitress who said that her and Tiger had sex multiple times at his marital home, in his Escalade, in a church parking lot, while tossing her tampon out the window. Then there was star Holly Sampson, who had had sex with Tiger the night of his bachelor party.
Me and my girlfriends, we did a bachelor party for Tiger, and it was amazing. And then he picked me to go in the room and have some, whatever. And I have to say, he was really good.
And her coworker, Jocelyn James, who said she actually gotten pregnant by Tiger more than once.
I knew I was careful. I knew I got tested, and I knew I never gave him anything. And, knowing that we never used protection,
Just kind of a key little point. A lot of the mistresses were told that they were the only ones, and a lot of them were very upset by that. So, back to the story.
And, me trusting in the fact that he said the only other woman he was with was his wife.
Then there was exotic dancer Corey Rist, who revealed that Tiger was like a little kid and loved eating Fruit Loops, watching cartoons, and looking through his comic books. But let's go back to Rachael. So she had said that her and Tiger loved taking Ambien before having sex, and quoting, "You know you have the craziest sex on Ambien once you get into that Ambien haze." Ambien, which is used to treat insomnia, I guess it's said to enhance sexual experience just a couple of minutes after you take it. I did not know that. Back to the story. It's December 11th, 2009, just 2 weeks after the accident. The number of known mistresses at this point is up to 14. Scandal was so big that it ended up affecting his professional career. He had lost endorsements from Gatorade, Tag Heuer, General Motors, AT&T, and Gillette. And in a complete shock to the golf world, with Tiger Woods at his absolute prime dominating the sport, he announced he was going to be taking a leave from golf. And by the end of the month, Tiger entered a month-long rehab for sex addiction. Tiger's wife, Elin, during this time, used it to renegotiate their prenup and mull her marriage. And just the day after the accident, Tiger had allegedly told a friend that Elin had gone ghetto on him and that he needed to run to Zales to get the Kobe special, a house on a finger. A press conference was then publicly held. Imagine that. Your own mother sitting in the front row of your press conference while you have to describe the sexual depravities you've done. Tiger ended up confessing to sleeping with 120 women. It's impressive. But sources close to Elin said she actually remained on the fence about leaving him until April 2010, when the 15th mistress was revealed. After 7 years of marriage to Elin, they divorced on August 23rd, 2010, with the divorce settlement costing a mind-boggling $110 million. Tiger clearly felt invincible during this time, stating,
"I ran straight through the boundaries that a married couple should live by. I thought I could get away with whatever I wanted to. I felt that I had worked hard my entire life and deserved to enjoy all the temptations around me. I felt I was entitled. Thanks to money and fame, I didn't have to go far to find them."
In an instant, Woods went from one of the most beloved golfers on the planet to living the life of an absolute leper. Late-night talk show hosts clowned on him. Tabloids and magazines splashed Woods across their front pages in an attempt to boost sales. And it seemed like everything was falling apart for Tiger Woods. Nothing was immune, including his golf game. His swing became a mess. His scoring was erratic at best. Gone was the mystique that once surrounded him. His aura of invincibility evaporated, only leaving a flawed character where the red-clad superstar used to be.
My wife went through my phone and made me call you. Take your name off your phone. You gotta do this for me.